Tonight it's Extreme Rules from Philadelphia, and finally we're going to find out who indeed is the person behind all of these White Rabbit teasers, mystery videos and cryptic messages on social media. Heading into tonight's event, of course, last night it was Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, and we got two teasers and possibly the most advanced indication yet that Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, is returning to WWE. We're going to go through both teasers, plus we're going to talk about LA Knights officially returning to WWE. Zelena Vega's back, and she brings with her an NXT faction. Gunther retains the Intercontinental Championship. Logan Paul faces off with the Bloodline. Vince McMahon's Vice documentary, Sarah Logan, is on her way back to WWE, and Nigel McGinnis has been released. It's the jam-packed edition of WWE News. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into with the world of WWE, and the wait is nearly over. It's Extreme Rules tonight from Philadelphia, Wells Fargo Center. I can barely contain myself, and we've got a couple more teasers of who indeed the White Rabbit is. We don't have to wait too long, because tonight, seemingly, we are going to find out who indeed is the person behind these cryptic videos, these teasers, the TikTok videos, the mini games. All of the mysteries will be revealed. And actually, with the teasers we got last night, we may have the greatest indication yet that indeed Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, is returning to WWE. Some really clear indications that the former Universal Champion is heading back to WWE and could be returning tonight in Philadelphia at Extreme Rules. So let's get straight into the mystery and the teasers that we saw last night on SmackDown. Let's begin with Triple H, because Triple H was the one who kicked off last night's season premiere of Friday Night SmackDown, and WWE fans got a rare treat to kick off WWE SmackDown and the season premiere of the long-running program as WWE's Chief Content Officer Triple H appeared. The game was in the ring as the show began to kick off the season premiere of SmackDown, where he said simply, quote, "There will come a time where you believe that everything is finished, but that is the beginning. Welcome to Fox, and welcome to the season premiere of Friday Night SmackDown." Now, while the Bloodline's entrance music then began, eagle-eyed fans noticed that while Triple H addressed the fans, there was a QR code on the back of his microphone. Now, of course, the QR code's been long associated with these White Rabbit teasers, and as everyone else has previously, they scanned the QR code and it led the fans to a previously seen pig cartoon with a ghoulish voice over the top of it this time. Now, this pig cartoon, as you can see on the screen right now, we have seen several times over. It's the Three Little Pigs cartoon that Disney created in the 1930s. Now, previously, it had the pigs and the big bad wolf, and as we spoke about previously when we covered this teaser, I believe it might have been last Friday night on SmackDown, I believe. I could be wrong. It could have been before that, but I think it was last week is when we first saw the pig teaser, the Three Little Pigs teaser. And as I mentioned at the time, what is the phrase or the catchphrase that's widely associated with the big bad wolf in the Three Little Pigs cartoon? It's little pigs, please let me in. Now, a lot of people said, when I said this, go, no, when it's the Fiend, it's let him in. But let me in is also what the Fiend has said as well. And this time, it was a little bit different. It wasn't just the Three Little Pigs cartoon that we saw, because over the top of it, we heard a ghoulish voice that said over and over again, let me in. Now, of course, that could be the most direct nod to Bray Wyatt that the fans have seen yet, but it wasn't the only teaser, and it wasn't the only direct reference to Bray Wyatt in the first teaser that we saw on SmackDown last night. Whilst we had this teaser with the pigs and let me in, which of course is widely associated with the Fiend, with Bray Wyatt, you could also argue that a pig has been associated with Bray Wyatt in the past, the Fiend in the past, that being Huskus the pig. Now, eagle-eyed viewers have seen this, and it takes a while to get there, but you can go and find this yourself. If you go find the teaser on social media, if you pause this video, if you pause this teaser at 12 seconds and you get the frame just about right, you see a screenshot, a screen grab of none other than the pig most closely associated with Bray Wyatt. That is right. Huskus the pig can be seen. A screen grab of Huskus the pig can be seen in this initial first teaser, which once again is the most direct clue, the most direct hint that the person behind all of these QR codes, all of these mysteries, all of these videos, all of these messages is none other than Bray Wyatt himself. We've seen subtle nods to The Fiend. We've seen subtle nods to Bray Wyatt. We've been seeing subtle nods to the Firefly Funhouse. But this is the first time we've seen direct imagery that has been associated with Bray Wyatt, one of the Firefly Funhouse characters. And a lot of people have been speculating that all of these clues have been linked to the characters in the Firefly Funhouse. Of course, the White Rabbit, Rambling Rabbit, is very easy to make that connection there. Once we saw the pigs, people kept saying Huskus the pig. Mercy the Buzzard, I don't know if we've seen such close association. There were some rumors we might have seen in the background of a shot. I'm not sure. We did see crows in the background of one shot. Some people could say that's the connection there with birds, I suppose. We haven't seen so much of Abby the Witch, but certainly there have been ties to the Firefly Funhouse characters, but this is the most direct one. This is the biggest and the biggest clue because it's Huskus right there. You have to stop it at the right time, but Huskus pig can be seen in that first teaser. So people thought that might have been the only teaser for the evening, and if it was again another indication, another nod that Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, was the person behind and is the person behind all of these teasers. But we got more. We got more, a much more direct teaser, and this one didn't come in the idea of a website clue or a QR code or anything like that, because as the WWE Premium Live Event Extreme Rules approaches tonight, a new White Rabbit clue seems to point directly at Bray Wyatt. We've spoken about that QR code on the back of Triple H's microphone, but we got a lot more. The next clue required no sleuthing, no direction, no QR codes or anything, because there was just a video clip that played on Fox for SmackDown's television viewers. This is really the first time that we've actually seen anything properly directed. It wasn't subtle, it was just a teaser that was played. Now we're going to go through this bit by bit here because it's certainly big stuff. So you can see you're greeted with the aforementioned White Rabbit in this woods, shall we say. The White Rabbit continues to bounce along, and then we see X marks the spot. Now, that X and that color scheme certainly is in line with Extreme Rules. The X in Extreme Rules, X marks the spot. It's got the purple coloring, so certainly it would lead into this coming Premium Live event later on this evening in Philadelphia. The White Rabbit, curious, says, I've got an idea. I know what I'll do. I'll do what rabbits do. That's go down the rabbit hole. So he begins to dig. He digs, goes down the rabbit hole, disappears for a little second, and then we see hot fire emerge from the ground, shoot up. Now, certainly some people are saying, well, this could be certainly a reference to The Fiend, because, of course, The Fiend was burnt alive. He was killed off by Randy Orton in December of 2020, the Firefly Inferno match at TLC, where Randy Orton burnt The Fiend alive. We didn't see The Fiend for a couple of months. I think it was about 3 months. Then the burnt, charred up version of The Fiend emerged at Fastlane. That led to the match against Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37. The last time we saw The Fiend on WWE television, the last match that Bray Wyatt has wrestled, the last match that Bray Wyatt wrestled for WWE. So certainly this could be an indication to that as well, but it didn't stop there. So after we saw the fire emerge from the ground, and you could argue somebody, something, some entity being awakened, or certainly some hellish demon, we've seen the word demon be used as well, demon be awakened. We saw some smoldering of the earth where X marks the spot there. We then kind of pan in and go down that rabbit hole with the rabbit itself. We go into where the fire kind of actually just occurred. And we see there, you can see it on the screen, it's plain to see, as I mentioned, this is the most direct clue that these White Rabbit teasers and mysteries are coming to an end, because it says tomorrow night, which of course now is tonight, and we continue. We get the date there, of course, that being the 8th of October 2022, which of course is the date of Extreme Rules in Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center. We then see Feed Your Head, essentially, in several different languages, so depending on where you are in the world, the White Rabbit, of course, is playing out to all audiences and all languages, which I guess is good. So it says, feed your head, and of course that is the line at the end of Jefferson's Airplane White Rabbit song that has been playing, not on WWE television, but in the arenas during SmackDown Raw tapings, in commercial breaks. It's also been playing on premium live events as well. So again, this time was a different kind of clue, a different kind of teaser. it wasn't in the background. It wasn't subtle. You didn't have to scan a QR code. You didn't have to do whatever. This was just played on the television for everyone to see, to say that even if you haven't been, and you'd have to be living under a rock if you haven't noticed or you haven't been talking about the White Rabbit stuff, but even if you haven't been following along, even if you haven't been trying to figure out the clues, even if you haven't been doing your sleuthing on social media, if you haven't been following any of it, there's your teaser right there. And tonight we're going to get this reveal, or certainly a much bigger understanding of who the White Rabbit is, but certainly it's teasing a reveal, it must be said. But again, that wasn't the only teaser as well. So we had the subtle teaser, and we've had various kind of teasers as well. You have to remember when it comes to the White Rabbit, yes, we've had the QR codes, but we've had signs in the crowd. We've had QR codes on microphones, on contracts. We've had, songs playing, not on television. It's been a varied approach from the White Rabbit, but also spotted in the live crowd at SmackDown was a person in a White Rabbit costume, who is quite literally slowly strolling through the aisleways, seemingly in an attempt to be shown on screen in the background of a hard cam shot. But you could see him right there, sat behind Michael Cole and new SmackDown color commentator Wade Barrett on commentary. And again, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this. We saw Monday Night on Raw, we saw someone dressed up as the Fiend in the audience. We don't know if that's part of the teasers, but certainly when it comes to the commentators, we've seen stuff happening a lot of the time behind the commentators. We've seen signs, we've seen QR codes, we've seen now a White Rabbit. It's all part of this tease, all part of these teases that indeed the White Rabbit's mystery is culminating, and also a part of these teases that Bray Wyatt is indeed coming back to WWE and will be returning tonight in Philadelphia at Extreme Rules. But before SmackDown, there was also another inclination, another link to possibly Bray Wyatt's return, and it would appear that maybe an oversight might have actually confirmed Bray Wyatt's impending return. Now, this goes to Bray Wyatt's old theme song on Spotify. You can see it right there. Now, earlier this year, WWE actually removed the theme songs from their release stars from Spotify and other streaming platforms, with the release stars that have returned seeing their theme songs return to Spotify. While the Fiend's theme has been removed from the platform and cannot be searched directly, the song is indeed back up on Spotify and can be played if it was previously in playlist before it was removed. So again, if you go to search for it on Spotify, you won't be able to find it. But if you have playlists, or you can search for playlists that previously included the song, it's now back up. But an interesting part of it as well is that yes, the song is back up, which would indicate that Bray Wyatt is about to return, but also the cover art has changed a little bit. That was the old cover art. That was the cover art that, again, if you're on a bit of a preview on the playlist, still does come up. But when you actually play the song, you see something a little bit different. If you can see on the screen right there, you see this imagery where it's two people sort of hand in hand walking through some kind of astral realm. People can make the connections that they want. It could be an inclination of what this different Bray Wyatt could be. It could be that we are going to see Bray Wyatt and the Fiend characters and personas return, but also it could be that we are going to see this reuniting with Alexa Bliss as well. Alexa Bliss has been referenced in some of these teasers with the painting of Samson and all that kind of stuff, and the betrayal that we last saw when Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, was last on our television screen. So maybe that could imply that we're going to see some kind of reuniting of Bray Wyatt as well. So certainly that's very interesting stuff that we could see there. So again, it goes to show, isn't it, in this day and age of social media, you're never safe. You're never safe. WWE can go to all of the lengths they want to try and ensure that they don't spoil stuff, but it's the little details, isn't it? It's the little details that they forget, and they're the ones that catch up. So there you go. That's the latest on the White Rabbit. But let's also talk about some other things, because there were some big stories coming out of SmackDown last night. One being the official return of LA Knight. A week after he quit the Maximum Male Models, Max Dupree officially brought back his NXT character of LA Knight on this week's SmackDown season premiere. In a backstage segment, Massey and Mansoor were seen laid out by Knight, which led to Maxine Dupree running up to her kayfabe brother and confronting him. This is what Knight told her, quote, "I gave you gold and you and them just turned it into trash. You think I'm just going to hang out here and be something I'm not? Nah. What I'm not is Max. Who I am is L.A. Knight. Yeah." Now, fans on social media also noticed that Knight had reverted to his old tone of voice, which he had changed considerably to play the Dupree character. Of course, this comes after several teases in the past couple of weeks that he was going to be reverting to the character. It had also been reported that on the internal roster, LA Knight was listed instead of Max Dupree, and this is what it always should have been. I mean, he got a big pop as well, and it just goes to show the audience is always right, because he said his name, the audience popped. The Maximum Male Models gimmick is a leftover hang-up of Vince McMahon. It was a terrible gimmick. It was a waste of LA Knight. The guy, he's not a young guy as well. He's in his prime right now. He needs to be making money now. Frankly, the fact that it took this long to get back to WWE for him was nuts, and he was given this terrible gimmick. LA Knight will be money on SmackDown because he can talk, and that's what makes money in pro wrestling. So I'm really glad to see that. We knew it was coming, but the moment itself was fantastic. Speaking of returns, last night, Zelena Vega's back, and she brings with her Legado del Fantasma. Yes, after much speculation, they were set to make their debuts. A major development on SmackDown has been seen as an entire faction from NXT has debuted alongside Zelena Vega. As rumored earlier on in the day, Vega has returned to SmackDown and joined alongside Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro, the NXT faction Legado del Fantasma. Not making the leap from NXT, though, is the faction's former female member, Elektra Lopez, who appears to have been dropped from the group in favor of Vega, while the segment ended on commentary speculating about the nature of the relationship between Vega and Legado del Fantasma. I've seen a lot of people reacting differently to this. First of all, great to see Zelena Vega back and great to see Legado del Fantasma on SmackDown. I think there'll be money. Now, a lot of people have said this is an inclination of WWE not really changing from the Vince McMahon era, i.e. trying to fix something that isn't broken. And Elektra Lopez was fine in her role. And that is true. That is true. Why they felt the need to change? Maybe they just felt like they needed someone better when it comes to a promo. And that's not to say that Santos Escobar can't talk, because he can. He really, really can. He can cut a great promo, but maybe they just felt that they needed to raise it up a level. And it's not a case of trying to fix something because it wasn't broken, but just take it to the next level. And the thing is with wrestling fans is that when you do try to change stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be changed, people get upset. And I've said this before, but I do perceive this as this will get them more over, because it adds more strings to their bow that maybe Elektra Lopez couldn't offer them. So that's my perception of it. I'm not too outraged, to be honest, by it. I know some people are, but I think the group will be money. I'm glad to see them on the main roster. Zelena Vega in this role works. Historically, she has with Andrade. Again, that's not to say that Santos Escobar and the wider faction needed a mouthpiece, because they didn't, but I think it adds more strings to their bow, in my opinion. And now last night we also saw an Intercontinental Championship match, and the chemistry that Gunther and Sheamus have is just unbelievable. Sheamus and Gunther met once again for the Intercontinental Championship on the season premiere of SmackDown. It was a rematch of their highly acclaimed match at last month's Clash at the Castle event. Sheamus ultimately fell short just once again, but this time it was a much more controversial finish. Now after the match, Sheamus took to Twitter to say gun tapper, followed by the hashtag screwjob. Now, Sheamus seemingly had the match won after holding Gunther in a cloverleaf, but in an apparent ploy to get out of the hold, Gunther tapped the mat 2 times. Many fans in attendance thought that signaled a submission and a new champion. However, the match continued. The end came after Gunther struck Sheamus with a shillelagh he received from the Imperium stablemate Ludwig Kaiser out of the sight of the referee. Of course, they're going to be having a match this coming tonight, rather. They're going to have a good old-fashioned Donnybrook trios match, Imperium versus the Brawling Brutes as well. But again, absolutely brilliant match. Somewhat surprised by the controversial finish. Part of me thought that Sheamus was going to win this, and then maybe Imperium would get the win. They would go 50-50. But thinking about it, and I was thinking about this before SmackDown went on the air yesterday, I thought, you know what? Gunther needs to win, I think, actually, because he continues... Triple H booking, if you've learned anything from NXT, in these kind of moments where you think the babyface is going to win, he tends to go with the heel because he wants to build up the heel. Who needs to win more? Gunther really needs to win more, in my opinion. I think Gunther needs to win because eventually he's going to be built up not to challenge Roman Reigns, but maybe they will. Maybe at some point we are going to get Imperium versus the Bloodline. To be honest, thinking with War Games on the horizon, that's not out of the stretch of the realm of possibility that we could get the Bloodline versus Imperium. I know it's a heel versus heel, but it's 2 factions facing off, and people like that. There doesn't necessarily need to be a babyface in that situation. So I'm not surprised that Gunther won that one, and I think Imperium's going to win tonight as well. I really, really do. But the match again was absolutely sensational. Logan Paul was on SmackDown last night. He confronted the aforementioned Bloodline ahead of their major match at Crown Jewel. While Reigns started the segment, he was interrupted by Paul shortly after, commanding Worcester to acknowledge him. In a scathing monologue, Paul Heyman referred to Logan Paul as a male Kardashian to be smashed. By Roman Reigns also acknowledged the critique that he is a celebrity there to draw eyes to the product, not actually to be competitive. Logan Paul retorted that it wasn't clear to him whether or not Heyman was referring to Roman Reigns as the tribal chief or Jey Uso. Jey Uso getting very heated in the ring towards Paul until Reigns took a commanding position between them in what was a dramatic moment until the tension was cut by none other than Sami Zayn, who got a massive ovation too. With the crowd cheering for Sami Zayn, he not only mediated the tension within the Bloodline, he also joked about Logan Paul being the biggest number 2 of them all dog, a line that even made Roman Reigns smile. The segment ended with the Bloodline standing tall and Logan Paul leaving the ring, while the Bloodline was also set to take on, in action, a Solo Sikoa faced Ricochet as well. I thought it was a fine segment. The real build will continue after Extreme Rules, but I think they were just on the show because it was a season premiere, honestly. But the eyeballs are firmly on Extreme Rules. Nothing's going to happen when it comes to the Bloodline and Logan Paul and Roman Reigns tonight, but we'll get that build really going into full effect after the premium live event. A couple of other stories. Vince McMahon, this is going to be a really good documentary. I'm really excited to see this. Vice TV will premiere its new documentary, The 9 Lives of Vince McMahon, on October 18 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The Wrestling Observer newsletter's Dave Meltzer, who is among the figures interviewed for the 2-hour documentary, reported that the film is on Vice TV's schedule ahead of October 18's episode of Vice's new series, Tales from the Territories, which of course is a documentary about the independent regional wrestling leagues. The Rock is an executive producer of that. Now, details of the 9 Lives of Vince McMahon have not been released yet by Vice TV, but PW Insider reported last week that it would cover the sordid circumstances surrounding hush money payments to several former female employees of WWE, a scandal which resulted in McMahon relinquishing his executive leadership position in WWE. So I'm really excited to do that. Of course, Vice always do a great job. It's not going to be the same people that did Dark Side of the Ring, I believe, but it's going to be the first people to really have a real stab at the Vince McMahon scandal that enveloped WWE this summer. So, of course, I'm going to be fascinated to see that. We've seen all of these returns recently, and we're going to see another as well, because Sarah Logan is on her way back to WWE. Sarah Logan was featured in a segment last night, though her face wasn't shown. The Valhalla Awaits segments are being used to reintroduce her after an over 2-year absence. She was released by WWE in 2020 amid those budget cuts that year, and has maintained a positive relationship with WWE. She appeared at the 2022 Royal Rumble and a Viking Raiders vignette. Outside of that, she's only wrestled once since her release, which was Control Your Narrative. She's set to be put with the Viking Raiders. We haven't heard the extent of the plans, or hasn't been reported the extent of the plans for her actively competing. There have been numerous pitches from various people over the last couple of years to involve her in the Viking Raiders team, of course, as she's married to one half of the tag team, Eric. Finally, Nigel McGinnis is done with WWE. Nigel McGinnis has indeed been released by the company. PW Insider is reporting that Nigel McGinnis has been released by WWE. The report states the release took place earlier this week. Now, of course, McGinnis most recently served as a commentator on NXT Level Up alongside Sudu Shah, and was also on commentary each week for NXT UK until the show was cancelled this past August. Prior to that, McGinnis had been used more prominently as a weekly commentator on NXT TV, easy for me to say, during the height of the Black and Gold era, calling many memorable matches alongside the likes of Mauro Ranallo and Beth Phoenix. Obviously, this comes on the back of all of this commentary shakeup that has been going on in WWE. There was a retweet, a very curious retweet by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful last night, retweeting a post by Nigel McGinnis that he made in 2018, stating that he didn't retire because he wasn't unable to wrestle. He actually retired because the belief was that he contracted hepatitis, which he did, but he was cured of that because he did a retirement tour. The reason that he retired is because he felt that if I'm not going to get signed by WWE, I don't want to wrestle anymore, essentially. The landscape has changed a little bit, and maybe he felt that I'm not going to wrestle for WWE, but I believe he's 47. So if he wanted to make a return to wrestling, he has to do it now. Essentially, time is kind of run out anyway. But people can come back in their mid to late 40s. We've seen it a lot recently. So obviously, there's a huge Ring of Honor connection with AEW right now. Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor. So certainly, there's a possibility that Nigel McGinnis could be headed to ROH or could be headed to AEW. Has that been confirmed? No. Have we heard any details about that? No. But certainly I thought that was a curious retweet by Sean Ross Sapp, retweeting a random post from 2018. Certainly implies that there is something there, doesn't it? But there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news and the latest when it comes to the White Rabbit teasers. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.